it's beautifully done, this. I mean, I've got to say, because it's, you know, what you've done is reproduced that diary, which was rediscovered. I'll ask you how you rediscovered it in a second. But you've reproduced it. And if I just show this, just show viewers at home how it's done. If I show it on camera there. Because what happens is that it's the exact diary copied into the book. And actually it's lovely because it's full of Ronnie's writing and drawings and quite a few comments. And then Ronnie's
This is how it used to look.
That's how it used to look. So it's been reproduced on the cover. Exactly. So it's very nicely done. And I'm going to turn back to September. This is 50 years ago. September the 10th, 1965.
I think you'll find Starlight Sudbury was the gig that we played then.
And then you've got notes on the gig.
And it says, it went very well, all had a good tank up.
Good grief.
Went down Blazers afterwards, and Lucy was there, whoever Lucy is. But Blazers used to be a great after-hours club. Used to meet Jimi Hendrix and all the people down there and exchange how the gig went. But at that time, a lot of the promoters never paid. And so we used to like Pete, who promoted the Starlight Sudbury. He had a chain of Starlight clubs. And he was a good man. And when you asked for the money, you didn't end up backstage in a dustbin.
Because there's a dustbin cartoon, absolutely right. So the question, I suppose, I've got to start before anything else. This is 1965. This is all 1965. It's 10 years before you joined the Rolling Stones. You're already very busy. It's a really good glimpse of life at that time. How did you rediscover it? Where was it all those years? Well,
it was in my dear old mum, who is no longer with us. It was in her bedroom drawer, and she passed it on to my brothers, Art and Ted, who are no longer with us either. But through the years, they kept it for me. And one of the last things my brother said to me, he said, look what Mum saved for you and look what I saved for you. And I'd completely forgotten until I opened it, and I went straight down memory lane.
Amazing.
And I thought, I actually kept a diary in those days. But it was more or less a record of how the audiences were and how the band was concentrating and how the music was developing. Because it was all a learning thing and trying to strive to get better. Well,
it's very open. You know, you make lots of comments. You say this went well and that didn't go so well, and there was a good crowd, or wasn't it quite a good crowd? It's a long, as I say, there's lots of very familiar names in there. Was it the only diary you kept? Was 65 the only year you kept a diary?
No, I did.
You have others?
I know there's one from 64 and 66, but I think those were the most intense times when I used to keep a note of the percentage that would get paid as well. You know, like if we got 50 quid at the weekends, a lot of money then. We used to compare it to the Stones, for instance, who were going out for 150 because they had a hit, you know, blah, blah. And things like the BBC audition, we could never pass because we didn't have a hit record. Whereas The Who used to say, you know, we're #1, you know, with I Can't Explain or something, and they would get played, even though they were louder than the Byrds, they would get played because they had a hit.